Welcome to the iPhoneography podcast, the show that almost didn't happen tonight. I'm joined by my good friend Dave Podner. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Greg. Yeah, don't worry. There's nothing wrong with anyone. Isn't the reason why we almost didn't have it. Giving a little behind the scenes, the immediate reaction after, as Greg has it as the title, Flub Flub Dee Cee, was not overly positive by the host.
Yeah, it was, I think it's because we were, I'll say I was expecting more. Based on some of the rumors, I thought, they would show a little more features and stuff of iOS 27, particularly with the camera app. But I mean, they also had rumors, like you said before we went live here, Dave. It was going to be like a snow leopard update, and for anybody that's been on a Mac for a long time, they'll know what that means. If you don't know what that means, it's basically a performance and an improvements update. So it is, and we got Jeff in the chat. There it is, Jeff Donald. He was our guest a few weeks ago, and he was going to join us, but he can't make it on live, so but he's going to make it in the chat. So welcome, Jeff. Glad to have you aboard. But anyway, yeah, so a snow leopard update, that's kind of a nickname for it. So and they kind of said this near the beginning of the presentation today, that it's going to be, improvements to this, that, and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they did show some new features, but it was mostly stuff to do with Apple Intelligence, child safety, and child protection and safety, and that, which is all good stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. But as photographers doing a podcast about photography, I was a little disappointed. But we do have a couple of things to mention. So this is going to be a short program, I would imagine. But if you have any questions in the chat, by all means, fire away. And just so you know, I do have the iOS 27 developer beta on my phone. Yes, my daily driver. I went ahead and did it because I figured I had to. And you know what?
Brave.
Well, either that or stupid, right? But it's solid. It's solid. So far, I'm not encouraging people to do it,
No,
just,
don't do it. Don't do it.
I never say go ahead and put it on.
Especially
But
developer.
I'm just saying,
this is not even the public beta. This is the developer beta.
I put this on within an hour after the keynote today. And, well, maybe it was a little more than that. I think I got busy doing stuff. But I mean, this afternoon, the keynote for me in my time zone was 1 p.m. And it went till, I don't know, it wasn't even 2 hours, was it, Dave?
No, it was very short. In fact,
Yeah,
it wasn't even
it might have been
an
an hour and 15,
It was
hour and 20, maybe at the most.
Maybe. I don't
Was it
even.
an
It was
hour?
an hour. Yeah,
Okay.
it was an hour because
So it would have been over by 2 o'clock.
Yeah,
for
or
me.
just a tidge after 2, but it was
Yeah.
exceptionally short.
Yeah. And Jeff says real quick here, I was surprised, but given Apple's history with Apple Intelligence, the lack of any of the excitement is typical. Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of people say too, like the biggest, loudest voice that I know of that has a problem with Apple and Apple Intelligence is a guy who reported on them for like 30 years. Jim Dalrymple. I mean, if you want to know what he thinks of Apple Intelligence stuff, check out their podcast. Him and Dave Mark do a podcast called The Dalrymple Report. I listen to it every week. And, he really was disappointed with what they announced 2 years ago and what they came out with. And so and I don't blame them, because a lot of people, like Apple they just settled a $250 million class action lawsuit to pay out to people who bought an iPhone 16, series phone, one that was capable of Apple Intelligence, just based on what they said about Apple Intelligence, because they promised that this was going to do it. And they never came through with it. So they did this class action lawsuit. Somebody put it together, and they're paying out people. Now, they're not paying out a lot. because I don't know how many millions of people put got these phones,
Yeah.
but it was just the US only as well. I mean,
Every
so
country's different with their laws and what you can and cannot sue about, so that makes sense too.
yeah, yeah. So Jeff put it on his at around 2:30, he put it on both his iPad Pro and his 17 Pro Max. So, Jeff, that iPhone, is it your daily driver, or do you have other ones to back up or, like, to rely on? This is my only phone, so but you know what? The last time I put a beta on, like, I waited till the public beta, but it was it was stable. It was pretty stable. Like, a couple of little
Mhm.
wee issues now and again, but, I mean, it was fairly stable. This one here, because it's a performance and enhancement update, it's smoother. It works pretty well. It does.
Yeah,
Um,
and they did mention about it's gonna be the opening apps are quicker. It handles the switch off between what is supposedly handled the switch off between Wi-Fi and cellular better, which we do have issues with. We like,
yeah.
when we leave the house, you know, let's say Ruth's on her phone when I'm driving, and
Mhm.
when we get to the top of the hill is where kind of the switch off between Wi-Fi and cellular, and you know there's a hiccup.
Yeah.
Like, if you're
Yeah.
trying to stream something or do something, it's like, "Okay, I have to wait a second. Okay, now it's switched over." Not a major inconvenience, but again, one thing Apple was almost always known for was under promise, over deliver.
Mhm.
And Apple Intelligence completely broke that because they say,
It
"You
was
can do all
completely the
this."
opposite.
Yeah, "You can do all this," and they did nothing. And then the next year came, nothing. Now the question
Mhm.
is this going to be, "Okay, we're good," or, "Okay, we're finally at a solid base. Now we can expand on this and do more." And
Yeah.
will we have to wait a year for an update? Because you can see if you follow AI companies like Gemini, Anthropic, and OpenAI, they update 3 or 4 times a year. And because
Mhm.
we're still early on in the AI large language model and now agentic revolution, I'll call it a revolution where we're at right now, whether it busts or not, we still have a revolution in how people do stuff. It's not just, oh, minor update. Like, most
Mhm.
updates on your base things for both Android and iPhone, your base is minor updates, unlike it was
Yeah.
15. AI, it's like, "Oh, we're 5 times quicker. Oh, we're this." You even hear Anthropic, which puts out Claude, said, "The latest model we developed, it found all these issues with published software, but we don't want to put it out there because there's so many issues and so deep and issues that have been around for decades that we just
Mhm.
found that now people could, if they use our software, you know, the bad people could go out there and mess a bunch of stuff up if they know this by using our software. So we're not even going to publish this, and we're going to
Yeah.
limit who has access to it. And this is only 4 years in. So
Mhm.
hopefully Apple
Yeah.
now says, okay, we have our base model. Oh, Google Gemini, who they worked with Google to make their new base model of Apple Intelligence, hopefully they don't wait a year to update it because things are moving
Yeah.
that quick.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Jeff did say that his 17 Pro Max is his daily driver, and he also says it's very stable, especially on his iPad Pro. So that's encouraging. And
Mhm.
he asked if I was on the wait list for Siri. So when you turn on, when you go to the Siri settings, when you first put this in, when I first put this beta in, I turned on Siri, or Siri AI is what they call
Mhm.
it now, and it said join the wait list. There was a button there that said join the wait list. So I hit the button, and it took about, it wasn't even an hour, I don't think.
Hmm.
And then I had it.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah,
So
Jeff,
that
I,
was
I
quick.
do have it
Okay, so
already.
that was quick.
And
Okay.
yeah, and I'm going to actually show an example of what I did with it and how it worked. So stay tuned for that. I was looking for, something in the camera app. I was looking
Yeah.
for something. And there is a little bit of a change in the layout. So I'm going to see if I can.
That is one thing I heard rumors of was a different layout that hopefully would be a little more intuitive. than the
Mhm.
current one because they keep adding stuff to the camera without making major changes, and it just kinda got a little clunky.
Yeah. So what I'm doing here is I've got my phone connected to my computer
Okay.
by a USB-C cable, and I'm using iPhone mirroring, which actually gives me a window that I can share. So I will there we go. So there's the camera app, and you'll notice in the camera app that there is a Siri mode here.
Ah.
So basically, this is just visual intelligence that was activated with the camera control before, or still with for those who are not on this beta. But with the beta or with iOS 27, this basically works the same as visual intelligence. So you can point it at something, take a picture, you know, I can't wait to try it out. I want to find a poster or a
Mhm,
storefront or something that has something to show and see if it actually offers to put, something on the calendar,
mhm.
things like that. So that's what they were showing in the keynote.
The other thing is
Uh,
pointing it at food, it looked like it would show nutritional information.
yeah.
Or if you
Yeah.
point
So
it
if I
at a
had a
receipt, like a lunch receipt, it'll show you, "Oh, do you want to break this into you wanna have this broken down
Mhm.
and who pays what?" And it'll do that too.
Yeah, and you can pick what you had
Mhm,
so you can find out your portion of the bill type of thing. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. But in the photo mode, the regular camera mode, this circle here with these 6 dots, this used to be up here, and it was a bit of a pain to have to reach all the way up there to hit it.
mhm,
So when you hit it, this is where your there it is. So that's the whole thing. This is where all your modes are, your flash, your depth for portrait mode, your live photos, your aspect ratio, timer, all that stuff is in here now,
mm.
and then you can tap to get out of it. And up here on the top, it shows, if I was to change my format, so I'm in Pro Raw
Ah,
48, if I went to HEIF, there, you see it changed up there,
mhm.
and it also added the photographic styles
Okay, and the live
icon.
option there too.
Yeah, and so I can take my photographic style and play with it before I
Mhm.
take the shot type of thing, and, just swipe
Oh,
to go through them this way, and yeah, yeah, live photo on and off, and if I was to audio listeners, I'm not gonna have any images on the screen to show this stuff because they would be so small, they would be really not worth it to try to look at while the podcast is playing, so please go to the YouTube channel to see this stuff, and what else could I do if I was to,
that's nice that it's
uh
all in one location down below where
e
and
yeah,
and if people aren't overly familiar, I brought up my camera app, the current one, where you can change your mode on the upper left, and then you can, like, the live, not live, all that is on the upper right, and, and then the the styles are on the upper right, so there's, like, multiple locations, and now
yeah,
having it in one location is so much nicer.
yeah, so that's pretty cool.
They
Let's
still
see.
have not, and correct me if I'm wrong, they still have not added a professional mode to the camera app
No,
or added
I
a
look
professional camera app like they have for video, unless they're gonna add that when it's released, like they have the professional
or
video or
or I wouldn't be surprised if that's a new iPhone feature, standalone feature for the new iPhone coming up, because it's gonna be the one that they wanna sell.
True,
I don't know, I could be wrong,
yeah.
but, I mean,
Or I could see
crazier
it
things have
only being
happened.
for the 17 Pros. Because the rumor is they're only going to come out with the Pro and the Fold this year, or Ultra, whatever they call it, and the
Oh,
regular
yeah.
18s won't be until spring.
Okay, yeah,
So it may be 17 Pros, 18 Pros, iPhone Ultra, if they 'cause that's what they're calling the foldable, and that's it. And they'll make
yeah,
some kind
yeah,
of excuse of, well, it needs the highest processor and the most RAM in order for it to do all it needs to do as smoothly as possible, which that's marketing. I'm sorry, because we
yeah,
have other apps which work great on like 13s and 14s. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
so But
And by the way, I should say that Dave and I did not coordinate our shirts tonight.
no, no, we did not.
Just in case
No,
anybody's wondering,
no,
they're fairly close
we
to the
did
same
not
color.
do what Craig Federighi did. If you're no,
No.
where he actually used Apple Intelligence to figure out all the blue shirts he wore and go
Yeah.
through it and figure out. By the way, I would not buy a shirt that would cost $180.
No.
If you looked at
No way.
if you looked at the in the presentation, he was flipping through the different shirts that he could also buy that matched that blue, and they were
Oh, yeah.
like $135, $150 shirts. Which I understand, you know, the man's making $1 million a year. You can afford $135 for a shirt, but
Yeah, yeah.
not on my salary.
And if I had a nickel, though, for every time he shifted his weight with his feet when he's talking,
Mhm.
I could afford one of those shirts. If you don't know what I'm talking about, folks, check out the keynote, the WWDC event
Mhm.
on the Apple website, and you'll see what I mean. And whenever he's standing there talking, he's always shifting one side to the other. And it's like very, very often that he does it. But anyway, so one of the things that they showed, and I only have this example, and they showed three new things in the Photos app. One was expand. So you could you could have a photo, and if you want to use generative fill, like like we hear about in Photoshop and Lightroom, and make the image bigger, then let's see. Oh, Jeff says, "Good, I didn't come on wearing a blue T-shirt too." Yeah. So what it does is expands the image. It generatively fills
Mhm.
in the outside of the image to make to make it bigger. Something I'm probably not going to use. And then the other thing was, do you remember what it was, Dave?
Yeah, it
Not the
was
one that I sent you the example of, but there
no,
was
it
another
was
one.
the reposition, what do they call it? You did the example with the
Reframe?
reframe. Now, I'll say this.
Yeah, but there was another. There's three.
Well, it was the updated erase, so it was up. So they're gonna
Oh, cleanup.
the
Just
cleanup,
cleanup.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you'll be able to
Okay.
do larger items because cleanup works really
Yeah.
good for small items. But if you have a larger item, it doesn't
Yeah.
work quite as well. So that'll get better. I can actually see myself using the expand if I need to straighten a photo because I've run into
Okay. Yeah.
cases where I've had to straighten a photo, but when you straighten it, it cuts off like the top of a building or cuts off the top of
Oh,
what you're
yeah.
trying to do because when you're tilting it, it'll cut off just a little bit if you don't give buffer space. So
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
see that being majorly useful for me to saying, "Oh, I took this photo and I didn't take the time to, get as steady as a shot as I should have." And, oh, I wanted to straighten it. And it's like, oh, I can't straighten it. And,
Yeah.
Snapseed has an expand and it's not that great.
Oh,
Now,
yeah. Yeah.
Adobe, of course, higher level, you know, their stuff works great. But if you have something that's kind of built in, that's also nice.
Yeah. So the example that I have to show from these new features is the reframe. And like Dave said, you can change the angle. Like looking at my ugly mug here right now, if I was like this and I wasn't looking at the camera, I could actually have it change the angle of me to make me looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird, but it works. So what the example I have here, and I'm going to bring it up here on the
Mm-hmm.
screen, is I took some bunch of pictures of these little blossoms on a sand cherry bush that we have in our backyard, and I did the reframe with this. So let me bring that up. And I took a screen recording of the process. So I will
And
hit
again,
play here.
let me do real quick.
Yep.
Audio listeners, please check out the YouTube because otherwise,
Yes.
this is a video, not really can do on the audio or in the audio output. But this to me is, and also because it shows how long it takes.
Hmm.
So that's something Apple showed was how long some of these things take. They didn't
Yeah.
shorten it for presentation reasons, which
And I will put this on the website. I'll
yep.
put this video on the website for the post for this video, for this episode. If I can think of it, I'll put some
Mhm.
screenshots of the camera interface on there as well, but they just won't be in the podcast app itself because, I mean, quite frankly, I don't know if I should even worry about chapter information on that. I mean, Apple podcast does that automatically, so
Mhm,
we'll see what they do, but usually I embed the chapter information in the file, but that's usually because I have a picture to
mhm.
bring up.
But
But check out this video either on the YouTube channel or on the website. It'll go on the website Wednesday morning as of this recording. This is Monday night. And so this here is this little flower, and I might hit the play button. It's going to analyze the photo. And so you see this wave, this colored wave go up over it, and kind of now the outside edges get blurred. And then this is me moving it around to see what angle I want it to make and how I want it to change. And then I hit reframe, the little yellow button that says reframe at the bottom. And now
mhm,
it shows a progress bar going across the bottom. And it says reframing your photo. And by now it's halfway done. And, so
mhm.
it takes a bit of time. And when it's finished, it's going to show you the end product. And it will actually use a little bit of generative fill in some places. Now, there's a little tab up there. I was watching a YouTube video when I was doing this or listening to one. So now there's the finished product. Now I tap the screen and it shows the before and the after. And
I
there's
could
the
see,
before
you know
and
what?
there's the after.
And I know Dwight, who couldn't make it tonight, basically, when they talked about the reframe, he's like, it kinda takes some of the artisticness out of, and I agree with him. But if you have photos of kids or animals,
Hmm.
and a lot of times, how hard is it, to get a kid, or you get a cat, let's say,
Yeah.
go ahead, tell a cat, "Stay still." Hi. Tell a cat, "Stay still and look at the camera." It doesn't work,
Yeah.
okay?
Right. Yep.
Okay, it don't work. And by the way, for those on audio, I just picked up Monty, so hi. Yeah, you're looking at me. Okay. Yeah, now there we go. Look at the screen. Look at the see, he doesn't look at the screen. He doesn't understand looking at, there we go.
Oh, he's looking right at
Right
me.
there. So, they don't understand. But if you can change it, get the angle changed a little bit, move it around. Again, this is something I think Apple does good, is that, yeah, you can do this already, but you have to know, oh, this app does it and this moves this way. And they try and make it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think this is
It's
where you're going to have people like when they introduced portrait mode for the first time built in, where people are like, "Oh, wait a minute, I can actually I can get like a portrait with a oh," and like people are like, "Well, yeah, you could have done that before," but it's like, no, that's Apple. Again, we said 90%, 90%. This is
mhm.
introducing a lot of these features to the large percentage of the population who hasn't used them.
Yeah.
Now, I also
Yeah.
saw where they said, not for this, but for the image creation, which
Mhm.
is now going to go from, "Oh, it looks like a cartoon," to, "Yeah, it's gonna look like real things just like you can do on ChatGPT or Google Gemini." They're not going to say, "Oh, we're gonna charge you for it," but I think they said you're gonna be limited to a certain amount per day, just so,
Mhm.
people don't go wild and create like 30 different everyone, like millions, hundreds of millions of people creating 30, 40 images a day, and then all that server usage and everything crashes. So I don't know what the limit's going to be. They didn't say. Hopefully, it'll be like, if you try to do it through ChatGPT, the free version now, you get 3 images a day.
Oh, yeah.
And then it
Yeah.
says, "Oh, you used them up. See us in 24 hours or pay us money."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see about Apple, but this is kind of introducing it to the. It sounds weird, but like the everyone in the past, Macs were, if you really knew computers, you got a Mac. If you just wanted general computer, you got a Windows. Phones, it's separate, it's switched. If you just want a phone to pick up and use without knowing a lot of other stuff, you get an iPhone. If you're like, "Hey, I want to jailbreak this and sideload this and put this on here," and you get an Android.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Shane Moston always said, iPhones are for users and Androids are for admins.
Yeah.
And, he's not wrong.
No. But this is going to introduce to a lot of users, a lot of average people who have no idea about AI. This is what you can do, because first time they install iOS 27, it's going to be, "Oh, let us show you what you can do," for that
Yeah.
introductory bit. And the people are like, "I can do that?" And what
Yeah,
you just
and
showed.
that's
Oh, I'm sorry, Greg.
yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna say that's what I just showed. I I cannot see myself doing that with an image other than to show something show it off, basically.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm doing it for Apple because, I would say, "Okay, this is what the iPhone can do." And,
Mhm.
I'm not an iPhone salesman. If somebody wants to know, "Hey, can the iPhone do this? Can the iPhone do that?" That's what I'll show them, and then they know this is what it could do.
Yeah.
And if somebody asks me, "What phone should I get?" I'll say, "Okay." I'll try to ask questions and find out where they're at. Are they on Windows? Are they on Mac? Or do they even have a computer? And then, you know, what are you gonna use it for? And all this stuff. And I'm not gonna just say, "Go get the latest iPhone." I'm gonna say, find out where they're at, what they wanna do, get an idea of what kind of budget they wanna use,
Mhm.
and then I will make a recommendation. I might say, okay, you might wanna go and look on the refurbished site for something, if
Right.
it's an iPhone, or, if I always say get the best you can afford, right? If you can afford a brand new phone, get one. If
Yeah.
you can't afford a brand new phone at the prices that they are, look at the refurbished
Mhm.
line, look on Marketplace, for a good used one, whatever, right? I'm not trying to sell Apple stuff, but if I use that feature, the reframe feature, it's probably just gonna be to show somebody something cool. I just can't see myself using it for what I do, unless it's,
Right.
my grandson, if I try to get a picture of him and he's busy doing something, he won't look at me, which, let's face it, when I point my phone at him, he goes, "Cheese." He loves getting his picture taken, so he won't be a hard catch, but like you said about the pets, right?
Or even younger
That's a
kids.
case.
Younger kids.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
case where I could probably use it
Mhm.
because, I mean, I'm not gonna use those pictures for, like, a portfolio piece or anything.
Right.
Those are gonna be for fun, and that's where I might use
Mhm.
the feature like that.
Or like I said,
Let's see here.
a lot of these things are for the 1990s. We're not the 1990s for photography.
Right.
Most people are going to use the built-in camera and the built if they even edit at all, they're going to use the built-in editing. That's all they're going
Yeah.
to do.
Michael Sage says, "Apple has to compete with all other AI engines.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like they have been behind on AI cur." Oh, no, you are
Yeah.
absolutely right. They
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
behind. They needed to prove that they can do this stuff
Mhm.
in order to try to catch up.
Yeah, and
They're
they're
still
not even I
behind
don't
in my
even think
opinion.
yeah, they're still behind. I think the one thing that Apple has, and I think there is a backlash, I think is too hard of a turn, but there is a thing of people realizing you're using my data for training? People are starting
Yeah.
to realize they're asking questions of these chatbots. And a lot of times, like, if you're asking a question when it comes to health or medical, you know, which a lot of people do as your first step, just like people use WebMD or, just a general Google search, which, by the way, you notice Google, their search results on top is AI now.
Yeah.
So, it's hard to
Yeah.
get around it. But that information is not private. Even if you use an app, instead of a general web search, that's not private. That's ingested
Yeah.
into their own search and it can be pegged to you and nothing's private. Where Apple, as they said again and again, we don't see this. We don't see this. This is
Mhm.
private. This is either on device, private cloud. It's not we're not using it for this, we're not using it for that. I think that's
Yeah.
where they could get some advantage, where people eventually
Yeah.
say, "You know what? No, no, I don't want you using my stuff." You
Mhm.
know? So, yeah, but
Um,
Apple is definitely they are not even with the newer version that you have, Greg, they're not up to what the other ones can do.
no, no. So, like, I've used Gemini lately, like the Gemini app on
Mhm.
my iPhone to do research. And, if I have a question about something about my truck or something like that, I'll ask it, and rather than go do a search on a browser, and because it's just faster for one, and it's usually pretty good, and it provides links to websites where it's getting this information from. So if I want to double check it or whatever, I can go and basically fact check it. And it always says, Gemini is AI and could be
Mhm,
wrong, blah, blah, blah. They all have that. But so this so far is, I mean, even the live demo that they show, well, I say live demo, but it's when they showed an example of a demonstration of what they were doing, they actually had an over-the-shoulder camera pointing to the
mhm.
device they were holding, and when they did it, it was like a live demo, and that was probably the best thing they could do.
Yeah.
So, but it is a little bit slower than, say the Gemini app, but the Gemini app doesn't have access to your text messages and all that
Mhm.
stuff. But anyway, so Jeff, you said they did mention that one of the services would give you more credits, and I'm not sure what you mean by more credits,
Well, I think
because he
when we were
followed that
talking
up with,
about the, like, for image generation, you have so many credits
oh,
like that.
okay,
So, like, it says,
okay,
"Oh, by the way, because you pay for so much, you get so many credits." And AI is kinda set up weird because it doesn't say, "Oh, you can get 5 more images." You get so many more credits, which can be used depending on because they break every query, not by word. It breaks it down by sections, and each section costs so much processing, and that's how they bill people. So it's a little bit weird.
right, okay, I gotcha. Todd from LA, he said, "Sorry I joined late. Did anyone talk about Photomator?" Not really, because they didn't mention anything to do with anything like that.
No, they didn't go to
The only
details about their built-in apps and how, other than that, apps can use Apple Intelligence, but they didn't really say, we're now using in Photomator, here's how we're going to use it. In Final Cut Pro,
yeah,
here's how we're going to use it. Which
yeah,
I'm assuming for the remainder of the week, that's one thing they're going to talk about. Remember,
yeah, probably.
and remember, all these talks are open to the public in terms of listening to them or watching
Yep,
them on their app. So if you can
mhm,
see, oh, how to use Apple Intelligence in photo processing. Now, it will go over, almost, unless you're a developer, it will go over your head for most
yeah,
part, because they're talking to developers.
that's right.
To quote Steve Ballmer, developers, 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 developers.
Yeah,
But
um,
sometimes if you watch it, you can say, "Oh, wait a minute. I I see I see their idea there. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I see what they're thinking about here."
mhm. Yeah, and if you really, you know, if you can pick up on it, you might even be able to see what they're looking at for features coming up,
Yeah.
you know, with the release in the fall. But yeah, so Jeff did follow up with image credits for generative images. Yeah. So Scott Baker says 2 times more catch up when we were talking about how Apple needs to catch up. Everything's us, 2 times, 5 times this, 10 times that.
80%
And
quicker.
yes. And
However, we
let's
do,
see here.
and this is a Pittsburgh joke. We all know Android people use
Use what?
Hunts, ketchup,
Hunts.
ketchup instead
Oh,
of
yeah.
Heinz.
Okay.
Even though they no longer make it in the city, you know,
Oh, yeah.
the Heinz plant's still there. Their headquarters are still in Pittsburgh. So,
Oh, yeah. Okay. Michael Sage says AI is faster, can be very helpful if you experiment with how you prompt it.
yeah.
Yes, that is true. Like Gemini is pretty darn good, and I really think about how I want to pose a question to it. So,
The other thing to remember is that you can actually ask AI how to prompt it. You can say, I want to
oh,
ask this question. Give me a better prompt. Give me the best way to prompt you to ask this question. And then it'll give you,
right.
okay, here is a very extensive prompt with all the details that would be best. You can just copy that because we actually have the
Hmm.
internal AI at our company, which ties into the three big AI services, but not through public means, through our company. And it even
Hmm.
we have a little button that's kind of built in that says query enhancer. So you can ask a really basic question, hit that, and it'll say, oh, okay, here's the best way to get the most information out. Boom. So
Hmm.
then you can use that as is or use that to rewrite it and then copy and paste, and it gives you all the information.
Yeah. So once Siri AI was active in my phone, I thought I would try it out because Dave, you said in a text message this afternoon that, you would be interested in, finding out something about what Ruth said or what Ruth did or something like
Mhm,
that. I forget what it said exactly, but so I tried to think of an example that I can show without, having anything personal on it. And I found a I remember meeting a friend of mine for coffee last week. So I'm gonna put this up here, and this is what it this is how it went. So I said, "What was the date that I had last met Sam for coffee?" Now, Sam is his nickname. "Based on your messages, this is what Siri told me. You last arranged to meet Sam for coffee on Wednesday, June 3rd at 11 a.m. at the Tim Hortons on the Sunset Strip, and that is 100% accurate." And it even shows the text message. My friend Pete said, "Could try to squeeze in a coffee Wednesday or Thursday if you're up for it." Now, that doesn't show the whole comment thread, but
mhm,
I imagine if I had tapped on this, it would have
mhm,
taken me to it. And then Siri also said, "If you'd like, I can also check your calendar to see if there's a specific event logged for this, or if there are any other past coffee dates you'd like to review." And I was telling Dave before the show that, yes, there was a calendar entry for that meeting, because I put it in and I didn't want to forget. If I got busy doing something, I didn't want to forget that I was going to meet him for coffee. So it would show up in my calendar widget on my home screen. And so there is an example, a real world example of what Siri can do now. And they are finally coming through with their promise that they made 2 years ago with what Siri can do for you.
mhm.
I haven't tried anything else with it, just to see how it works, but that part of it, that part works fine.
And I'll say this is similar to what Google Gemini can do if you download their app, and then you give Google saying, "Yes, you can view my Google email and my Google
Your
Photos
Google Calendar.
and everything else
Yeah.
Google related," because it'll give
Yeah.
you like, "Oh, good morning. Here's a rundown for your day." And
Yeah.
it gives you a rundown saying, "Oh, by the way, this has happened and you had a thing about this, and I noticed this is going on." And, I could see them eventually maybe adding where you have a good morning like on your watch or on your phone. "Good morning.
Mhm.
Here's what AI has seen. Here's what's on your calendar for today. Here's this. And oh, by the way, you mentioned this, but here's a message about that."
And Siri was supposed to be able to do that even before Apple
Yeah.
Intelligence. Whether it actually worked or not, I don't know, because I never
Yeah.
I never, you know, prompted it to tell me that. Maybe I should have done that one time, but I didn't. But well, I mean, it's actually starting to look a little more like what it's supposed to do. Now, I ha I haven't done anything else in the Photos app, like, as far as, show me pictures of my grandson or whatever, right? I haven't done any of that stuff. It's been kind of a busy day here, but I will be playing around with that, and, of course, like we do every year, I will kinda update people with what I discover,
Mhm.
and it'll be photography related. I know we're talking a lot about AI right now on this show, and we're actually talking about a lot more than I thought we would. I thought we were gonna just come on in here and poo-poo the whole keynote just because of the lack of
Lack of
things that they
photography. Yeah.
showed us. Yeah, especially photography related.
Yeah.
But, all this AI stuff is going to kind of have an effect on the photography stuff.
Mhm.
Like, when it comes to searching photos and fixing photos and
Yeah.
on all that
Because
stuff.
they said
And
they redid from the base up search, not only spotlight search, but search for emails and search for photos and re-index things. So I imagine it's going to take some time to re-index everything.
yeah, yeah, like right now my phone is indexing.
Yeah. But I'll also
Just
say
without
this,
showing it on
that
screen, I'll see if I can see where it's at.
I just re-downloaded the developer app, for WWDC, and they stated the platform
Yep.
State of the Union, which is more technical than the end user, that's already available. There's featured sessions, tons of them already available. And this is available if you're not a developer. They have stuff about
Mhm.
AI machine learning, the App Store, Apple Intelligence. And so things like they do have here what's new in image understanding. So I think
Yeah.
that is going to be a big deal for photography because they're going to use that, the image understanding to look at photos. And because now they're able to, like, they gave an example of, oh, I did something on screen, like on the iPad. I think it was an iPad or on a Mac where they circled something and said, hey,
Mhm.
can I make this gluten free? And it knew it was focaccia.
Right,
So,
yeah.
and I can imagine for photos
Yeah,
because
on-screen awareness,
mhm,
yeah.
for photos now,
On-screen awareness,
yeah,
yeah.
but for photos, they now say, well, we know what's a sky and what's a dog and what's a cat and, you know, and we can adjust the photos. So, like, if you brighten it, we know what the sky is and we can make adjustments. So I can see them using that for, oh, we now know a lot more than what we did before for what we can see on your photos. So we can adjust things, like I said, searching a lot better. And these videos are all like 15 to 20 minutes long, and there's a lot of them here already.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then they have their, yeah, the catch up on that. They have group labs. So if you do have a developer, or, if you know a little, if you've tried to develop on your own, they do have that available here.
Yeah.
Also about
And
coding.
vibe coding don't count.
Well, you know what though?
Well, I mean,
They did
maybe it
mention
does, I
it
don't know.
though. They did mention, in a way, vibe coding because they said in Xcode that they're kind of linking into not only the libraries you can pull from GitHub, but there is vibe coding kind of hooks there for AI. And
Mhm.
shortcuts
Yeah.
are now going to be basically vibe coded, where instead of having to know how to do a shortcut, which most people don't, you can just say, you can even say for photography, when I get on a and Wi-Fi, take the photos that take my last 30 photos or whatever, my photos from a different thing and create a full, if or in a way, like, I guess if you want to say, hey, make a shortcut that groups all the photos in one location and creates a memory from them from a particular time.
Yeah, yeah.
So right
Yeah,
now,
it's hard
instead
to
of the
say what the
manual,
possibilities will
right.
be,
But
yeah.
right now it's a kind of a manual process of, okay, these photos are from here. So I'll create a separate album, then I'll do a memory and a memory video. You could maybe have a shortcut saying, just describe it. It'll do all the behind the scenes stuff that makes it do it. And then just say, okay, you know, if I take more than 10 photos in one location within an hour, make a memory video out, make an album, and then make a memory video out
Mhm.
of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that way you can
Yeah,
start doing it
it'll
that
be
way.
interesting to see how all that works.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be keeping an eye on what Steven Robles has to say about it all because he is a king of shortcuts. Some of the shortcuts he makes, I mean, they're a mile long. I'm exaggerating, of course, but I mean, they're
Oh,
pretty
no, some of them
intense.
can be, yeah, it's
So,
it's programming. Shortcut
yeah.
is programming.
Oh, sure is,
So
yes,
you
yes,
still
like
need to
scripting
have,
and all
yeah,
that
is
stuff.
that so you still have to have, it's not as easy as you want it to be, but I think making it this way can make it significantly easier.
Yeah. Joe or not Joe, sorry, Jeff. Jeff says his iPad is still indexing as is my
Yeah.
phone. It's still indexing, so
And that takes
it's
forever.
gonna take a while.
Yeah.
And it says it does it better and faster while it's, plugged in. So, like, mine's plugged in now, but it's
That makes sense too.
I suspect it's gonna probably be indexing until sometime through the night, if
Oh,
not
yeah.
even into tomorrow morning. Now, what the indexing means is that it's looking through my stuff, I guess you could say, and basically creating a file like a filing cabinet
Mhm.
so that it knows what to find and where to find it when I ask it something. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out, when it's done and after a few days. But, I will say that it's smooth. It's really, you know, it's it's like it just put an update on my phone. It's not like I went to a whole new operating system.
Mhm.
And Jeff says it could take up to 4 days. Wow.
Which, given
I mean,
given
yeah, I could see that.
yeah, given the fact they're not just looking at files, but it's like for the images, it's in videos. It's actually looking at the images and videos, seeing what's on there. Because like you can do searches for videos and images saying, hey, see anytime the word so and so is on it.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
so but
Hmm.
that takes a long time to do. Now, once you're done the
Yeah.
first time, just adding new stuff will be a whole lot quicker, obviously. But
Yeah. Yeah.
like, I don't know about you, but like right now I am, hold on. We got to do this, and let me go to oh, hold on. Here we go. Photos. I have 50,000 items between photos and video.
Oh, yeah.
So if it's indexing 50,000 items and looking at each one individually and processing, I could say 4 days plus, yeah.
Yeah. I have,
Especially since that's
um
being done on device.
I have 12,401
Yeah.
items. So, and I was just gonna show you something real quick here. That this is beta. This is beta,
Mhm.
and I want you to have a look at this. This is kind of funny. There's my through iPhone mirroring, there's my screen.
Yeah,
It's got the app titles there, but
not the images, yeah.
the
Well,
icon
you're
images
still
are
you're
only there for
now,
some of them.
you have
Now,
not
they were all there before.
okay. I mean,
The
before you
widgets
updated?
No,
Or
no,
after you updated,
even
just
since when I first connected my phone,
okay.
they were all there, but something maybe it's because it's indexing, I don't know, but
Now you're still
and
on the current version.
I
You're still on macOS 26, right? You're
yes,
not
the
on
Mac, I'm
Golden
not
Gate.
updating.
Yeah, you're not on Golden
Right.
Gate yet.
No.
You haven't gotten on the microbus.
No. But I think, you know what? If this was the way the home screen would work, I would love it. That would be so cool. Just the words. All you have to do is tap above it, and the app opens. I think that's cool. But anyway, so, I mean,
Okay,
this
that's
is this is
classy,
an
right?
example of what you get on beta. Things like this could
Yeah.
happen. So
But the fact it's
as
this solid on a developer beta, because remember, a lot of people were complaining about for the last couple versions of iOS that the .0 release, the initial release, was buggy and there were issues and it wasn't as solid as it should have been. And if they can
yeah,
now come out and say, you know what? This is rock solid in beta, and you won't have to worry about installing. So this gives us a good, like, if you're building anything, if you're building a house, you need a solid foundation. This is them going in and saying, okay, we've added so much stuff onto this house, our foundation needs redone. We're going to fix the foundation, we're going to fix the walls before we add everything else.
yeah, yeah,
So that's
yeah. Jeff says it's indexing files, apps, images, and videos. So yeah, it's going to take a while. So Michael Michael Sage says, I think I'm going to wait a bit to update. Yeah, I mean, I would recommend waiting. The only reason I put it on today is so that I could talk about it tonight.
yeah.
Because on our last show, which was 3 weeks ago, we said we were going to talk about what they said on
Hmm.
WWDC because, I was expecting to see a lot more photography related
Yeah.
stuff than what we did see.
I think also they kept it to an hour. So if you look at what people like certain a lot of websites, they go in and look at the details or a lot of the details that Apple kind of says, oh, and we did all this other stuff.
Yeah.
There's lots of little details and updates they did. They just didn't hit it. Also, you notice they didn't say iOS has this, Mac OS has this,
Yeah.
They said, okay, we're going to talk about this, and then we're going to talk
And
about child stuff across
if
all
you
of
want a
it.
really, yeah, if you want a really good idea of what's coming in all the enhancements they made, when you're watching the keynote, they put a splash screen up with
Hmm.
dozens and dozens of different things that they're working on or that they
Hmm.
worked on to improve iOS and Mac OS and iPad OS for that, and even Vision OS
And watch.
and Watch OS.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes and under the hood and all that stuff. With Liquid Glass that came out last year, Jeff says I went full on with Liquid Glass into sliders. So did I. I turned it to as glassy as I can get it. But but you can turn it so that it's very
Mhm.
opaque, and that's system-wide. That's not just
Yeah.
some things, that's system-wide,
Mhm.
because some people don't like it as much. But me, I like
Yeah.
it.
And
I
they did
like it
and
a
they
lot.
did talk about how the icons, which is something you may not notice, they redid the icons as liquid glass.
Yeah.
So that
There's
made me
actually
yeah.
refracting in
Which
the
yeah,
refracting in,
you just
one
may
layer to
notice
the
it
next.
looks nicer without going into, "Oh, I noticed this detail." You just may notice, "Oh, I notice it looks nicer," or "It's easier to view," or, you know, without getting into the detail, and that's where a lot of the work comes from.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of the behind the scenes foundational work that isn't immediately, but I also say this, Google had their I/O event,
Mhm.
like, a month or so ago,
It was
under a
about
month,
2 weeks,
2,
3
3
weeks
weeks
ago?
ago,
Yeah.
and they talked before their event about what changes to Android they were having, but the entire I/O event was AI.
Yeah.
It was straight 100% AI. So if you're an Android user, you got a little bit of, "Well, we're making these little changes to this, but AI, AI, AI."
Yeah. Yeah.
Microsoft, their developer conference, the build conference, AI, AI, AI. Everyone's pushing, "This is what we have as AI that can do for you." So,
Mhm.
Apple almost, I don't wanna say has to do it, but it's going to get to the point where Android can say, "Oh, by the way, you don't have to use an app here, an app here, an app here, realize it. You just have to say, 'Hey,' whatever you wanna say for do this," and it does, like, 5 things for you at once. It says, "Here it is."
Mhm.
And you're gonna start hearing, if you're not familiar with it, the term agentic. So,
Yeah.
agentic versus, like, your ChatGPT, which is your large language model. Agentics
Yeah.
are smaller agents that will do very specific things. They aren't the full-blown massive AI agents, like,
Yeah.
you can
And
say,
Apple mentioned that.
and they mentioned that, and that, and like, "Oh, tell me when registration updates on this web page."
Yeah.
That is something
Yeah.
where I don't care, AI, whatever, that's useful. You wanna know
Yeah,
when
it is.
registration opens on a web page for an event that maybe is only gonna be open, it's like, "Oh, pre-registration opens for 2 hours at this particular time for less price, and then it won't be open for another 2 months. So, let me know
Yeah.
when that happens." They could send you an email, but if you can get a little pop and say, "By the way, here's this important thing, it's been updated."
Let me know when the show notes hit the iPhoneography podcast website.
Yeah, yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna
something
try
like
that
that,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or let me know
So,
when prices change on this particular, thing, and you
yep.
let it do the work in the background.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how it all
Mhm,
plays out, but well, I think we'll tie it off there,
yep,
Dave. We covered a lot more than I thought we would, so I am glad that we come
mhm.
on here tonight. Uh, we will continue with our regular schedule in 2 weeks. Or no, we were gonna go next week, weren't we, Dave?
We were talking about
Because I know Dwight can't make it, but I mean,
whether we were gonna go, if we weren't gonna go tonight, possibly just waiting for a week, but I don't think we've, I mean, it I would say this, for those behind the scenes, a lot of times our schedule for which week was a lot determined when Greg was working still, on whether he was
right.
but for me, I'm open if you want to wait 2 weeks, and we'll double check with Dwight, because I don't want to,
Yeah, okay, so Dwight can't make it next week,
yeah,
so let's go 2 weeks. Like, we'll keep our
yeah.
biweekly rotation going as of tonight, and we'll
Also,
just
that'll
pick up
give
like
you
that. I
time
mean, so
to play
it's
more with
offset a
it.
week from what it was before,
Yeah,
yeah. It'll give me time to play around with all this stuff. I'll try to gather as much information as I can, and
mhm.
I'll dive into the camera and the Photos app to see if there's anything, that we could talk about, and if I mean, I think you're a little better at picking up on the developer videos and stuff
Yeah.
than I am, so if you hear of
I'll keep
anything,
an ear out for
you'll
anything that mentions, and
yeah.
again, I think the big thing that a lot of people are gonna be looking for, anything hidden, and, at the very end, they talked about for developers how it's now going to be much easier to take something that's like a iPhone vertical and maybe stretch it out and rework the user interface to maybe a wider square image at the very end. They showed that, right? Where it's like,
Yeah,
oh, now you have this, and here it is automatically taken care of. And that
yeah,
wider square image looked like some of the leaks that you saw for the inside of the iPhone Fold.
yeah,
So you could
yeah,
say, this is your iPhone app. Oh, you have a normal iPhone? This is what you use here. Oh, you have a Fold? Your app will automatically set up and be perfect when it opens up that Fold.
yeah, yeah, and they're talking about a liquid metal hinge.
Finally,
I heard about,
15 years where they were only using liquid metal for the SIM device. That's the only thing they ever used it for.
oh, yeah,
That's
yeah,
the only thing they ever they put tons of money into liquid metal, and they kept it. The only thing they ever used it for was that little SIM device, which now we have eSIM, so you don't even need that.
yeah, really,
So, but not this. The Fold will be at least, I'm thinking in US dollars, at least 2,000 to start with for the
yeah,
base, and go to 3,000 probably.
yeah,
And it's
and
not going to be. This is going to be, aspirational. This is going to be low volume. This is not going to be the phone that most people get.
right. It is oh, Michael Sage, he says Liquid Metal was his band name in high
Hmm.
school. Right on. So, yeah, like, the Fold or the Ultra or whatever they call it, from what I understand, it's only gonna have a ultra wide and a wide camera, it's
Yeah.
not gonna have a telephoto. So, I don't think it's going to be for serious photo
No,
enthusiasts, m
don't think so.
but, I mean,
Not unless they
it
throw some weird AI zoom extra feature into it where you don't
yeah,
miss
who
the
knows?
telephoto. But of course, there's rumors of a variable aperture for the Pro,
Yeah,
and a
yeah.
physical variable aperture.
And if that's the case, I hope they don't disappoint.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I think we'll leave it there, Dave.
Hmm.
And we'll between you and I, like
And to wait.
Dwight is not a big fan of the AI stuff,
No.
so I don't know how much he's going to be interested in it. But I don't know. Maybe if he tries some of this Siri stuff, it might be helpful to him in his daily
Yeah.
daily routine.
Whether photography,
Um,
maybe not so much photography,
yeah, yeah.
but more the day
But
to day. Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. We'll
Hmm.
see how it plays out. And I'm hoping that Jeff can join us in 2 weeks. Like, he wanted to be here
Hmm.
tonight, but he couldn't, so,
Hopefully
we
better.
will yeah, we will pick up on everything in 2 weeks' time, so watch out for the YouTube thumbnail and the
Hmm.
announcements in the Facebook group and on the Facebook page, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel,
Same
and
bat time,
again, I
same
will put
bat channel, same bat location.
Yep. I will put the screen recording video that I showed tonight and I'll try to come up with some screenshots for the camera app to throw in there as well with
Mhm.
some of the subtle changes that has. So I guess on that note, I guess we'll see everybody on the next one.
Have a great one, everyone.